Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to tell you today about Commodore Matthew Perry and how he went to Japan. And he first arrived in Japan in Edo Bay, which is present-day Tokyo Bay, on July 8th, 1853. And he got as far as Edo Bay and Kanagawa, which is present-day Yokohama. And he delivered a letter written by President Millard Fillmore. He was the president of the U.S. at the time. Well, it was addressed to the emperor, but at the time, the emperor was basically a figurehead, and the shogun had all the political and military power. It got in the hands of the shogun, and the shogun ultimately said no to opening up Japan because Japan was in an isolationist period. They had been in an isolationist period since the early 1600s, started by Shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu, and they continued it well into the mid-1800s. Well, Matthew Perry said in 1854 he was going to be back with more guns, and he fired about 70 blank shots of the cannons into the sea, and the Japanese called them black ships, and they thought these ships were from the heavens. So Japan ultimately opened up their doors to the West, and I'm personally glad Commodore Matthew Perry came, not because I visited Japan 3 times and I loved it, and I do believe that the U.S.-Japan trade relationship is good for both countries. That's a different video. But I'm going to talk to you about why. Because when he came, one of the things that he did was he made sure that Christians in Japan were able to exercise freedom of religion and get their freedom of religion. Article 8, actually, in the Treaty of Amity and Commerce, also called the Treaty of Kanagawa, which was signed in 1854. Basically, that was guaranteed that the Americans in Japan could exercise their freedom of religion, and then the Japanese will not engage in any religious animosity towards one religion. Now, were there equal parts of the treaty, and was it Western imperialism? Yes. Like, prime example, the Japanese goods going to the United States had high tariffs, but the U.S. goods going to Japan had low tariffs. There was unequal treaties, and Matthew Perry wanted to open up Japan mainly so his ships could have a port and dock for whaling. The U.S. whaling ships could have a place to dock and not risk being lost in a storm or caught up in a storm, or basically it was the wanting a whaling port, because whaling at the time was vital to the U.S. economy. But because of that, freedom of religion did come to Japan. Also, a lot of modernization came to Japan. That came as well. Talk about that in a different video. So I'm personally glad Commodore Matthew Perry came. There were parts of the unequal treaty, but it wasn't like British imperialism. American imperialism was a minor imperialism compared to a lot of other Western countries, because the U.S. wanted Japan to gradually open its doors to the outside world. They didn't want to do it all at once. They didn't want Japan to do it all at once. And they said if you go to England, if you make deals with England, that's not going to be the case. So, and the U.S. made it pretty clear to Japan that we're not here to annex you guys, and we're not here to conquer you guys, which they never did, by the way. Anyways, hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless them. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.